Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Midnight Run. My name? Well, let's talk about that. I used to run my intro as my name is Tirali, and welcome to the Midnight Run. But I rarely ever play a character that's named Tirali, or that has anything that would be related to any of the characters that are named Tirali. Obviously, it's not my real name, so from this point forward, you can call me Axe. Axe, short for Axorin, as you can see in front of you. Axorin the Seeker from the Third Shift Guild on Senjin as the server. And basically, this guy is the one I play the most, so why not represent him in all things? So basically, without any further ado, this is Axe, and this is my Paladin. As you can see, he's bright gold, which is more for fun than anything else, but also useful in raids. It makes it easy for people to locate me whenever they need to get to me or heal me or dispel me, that sort of thing. Not going to get into too much about that. I will do a quick run through of how I play him. Obviously, I'm using a custom UI. I have this bar up here, which I believe is called Quick Mark. LVUI changed all my bars, so I have the menu up here and my action bars down here. What most people probably don't understand is the hotkeys that I use for them. Bottom row is Q through the brackets on the right side. Upper row is 1 through the equal sign. This row right here starts with F1 and runs through F12. Now, granted, I don't use most of the function keys beyond F1 through 4 or 5, but it's there. It's nice to know that it's there. Something I recently added to is the very top row is has a lot of shift keys. So shift 1, shift 2, shift 3. Those are things that I don't use often, but are definitely useful that I want to have a hotkey for. For instance, this is my cloak. I'm an engineer, so I use it for slow falling speed. Very useful to have it hotkeyed. Very easy to die if you don't. So that's why that looks the way it is. I have loot and trade spam on the right, general chat. This is all basic setup for LVUI. That's just the way it goes. Anything profession related, I put on this bar over here on the right. I have my character plate here, so easy access. I have, if I select it, my target plate is to the right. That is the same for everything. Over here on the left will be my raid and party frames. If I get into a party or have a raid, they all appear over here on the left. Quest text, etc. appears on the right. I have it disabled right now so it doesn't clutter my screen up too much. Now, obviously this is my protection paladin wielding the shield and the hammer. And if I look at the talents, they're thusly. You can screen cap this if you want. Blessed Hammer, First Avenger, Binding Light, Cavalier. Having the two charges of Divine Steed is very useful for keeping up and running Mythic Pluses as fast as possible. Final Stand. Now, I know a lot of people take different things here. Some people take Hand of the Protector to heal other people or to increase the healing while standing in consecration. Can be very useful. The Knight's Templar, reducing the Divine Steed cooldown, reduces the damage you take while mounted by 20% and the cooldown by 50%. I know people do take that as well, but that's why I have the two charges. And the Final Stand, I don't like using Divine Shield without it, because there's never going to be a situation in where you feel 100% comfortable in not having the taunt associated with Divine Shield, at least in my opinion. Maybe if you had some high level coordination with your guild or in a raid, but I always feel that this is the best option because of the taunt that it gives you. Because without the taunt, you drop aggro, so basically Divine Shield becomes useless in any kind of Mythic Plus situation. Raids, it's a little more useful when you don't have this, but at the same time, not great. Plus, it's an AoE taunt if you really need it, if you need it in an emergency. Now, I'd also in this last row, I know people use Aegis of Light, but because it lists the allies that are standing within 10 yards behind you, not really that useful, because most of the time you're going to face the boss away from the party, which means your back is to an empty wall or to open space, it's never going to be towards your party members. So the usefulness of this Aegis is very low, and the cooldown being 3 minutes is very high. So I don't find that useful at all. Now, Judgment of Light, now cause the next 40 successful attacks against the target to heal the attacker. Pretty good, not bad. It does require you to hit judgments, and then it requires enemies to, or friendlies to attack the enemy to actually get the healing. So it doesn't really help healers heal themselves at all, which is not really that big a deal. I personally go for Consecrated Ground because the 6 allies standing within my consecration will heal for 3,900 every 0.8 seconds, forever, essentially. And because Consecration's cooldown is lower than how long it lasts, you can get you can overlap the healing on that. So it'll get healing from both consecrations if they're standing in both of them, or if you drop 2 in the same spot for at least 3 seconds. So you're healing 6,000 every 0.8 seconds, 7,000 every 0.8 seconds if they're standing in both. And if you're good, you can keep that up all the time. And that amount of healing is pretty significant. Basically for 10 seconds they're healing 40,000 50,000 health for 6 allies. That's really going to reduce the strain on your healers for the melee DPS. It's also going to help the melee DPS stay in range of the boss when AoEs come down or cleave abilities hit, stuff like that. So I really enjoy that. Now the last row I know is where we get a lot of divergence in Paladin playstyles, let's say. Now, Righteous Protector. Shield of the Righteous reduces the remaining cooldown of Light of the Protector and Avenging Wrath by 3 seconds. This is the one I prefer because I rely on myself for self-healing a lot more than I rely on healers. And I do that for a couple reasons. One, the healer can't always focus on me, especially in Mythic Plus dungeons where you might have a Grievous or Sanguine Pools or Volcanic, stuff like that. Even Skittish can be a little weird when it comes to that. So I rely on this Righteous Protector to keep me as healthy as possible so that the healer doesn't have to worry about me as much, which helps him keep the rest of the party alive. Because while I may do fairly decent DPS as a Paladin tank, the DPS are going to do more. There's no way around it. They're gonna do more, and the key in Mythic Plus dungeons and some boss encounters for raids is to kill the boss as quickly as possible, which is why I choose Righteous Protector. Now, we also have over here Seraphim. Light temporarily magnifies your power, increasing your haste, mastery, crit, strike, versatility by 5,500. Consumes up to 2 charges of Shield of the Righteous and lasts 8 seconds per charge. This one, if you can keep track of all of that, can be very good. But you have to think about the complexity of it, because if you hit this, you are foregoing the damage reduction that you get from Shield of the Righteous and the damage it deals, which is not insignificant, but not as important. To consume 2 charges of it, to basically have an additional 5,500 to every secondary stat for 16 seconds. Now you might think oh well, that's a long time, 16 seconds. Well, Seraphim's cooldown is 45 seconds. So, with Seraphim's cooldown being 45 seconds, and Shield of the Righteous's cooldown being 12.7 seconds for me, because my haste is okay. It could be better, but it could be, it's not as good as it could be. And if you stack haste, this might actually be a bit more manageable. So let's say that I hit Seraphim. I now have a 45-second cooldown on Seraphim. I've burned 2 charges of Shield of the Righteous, which recharges at 12.7 seconds each charge. By the time that Seraphim ends, I will again have 2 charges of Shield of the Righteous, which I can then use to keep my mitigation up, which is fine. The bigger problem is that after 16 seconds, you add the 4.5 seconds of Shield of the Righteous, and you're looking at 20.5 seconds of Shield of the Righteous and Seraphim damage reduction with the versatility and mastery, etc. It's pretty good. But now you only have one charge of Shield of the Righteous, maybe two by the time that Shield of the Righteous runs out. Probably not. You probably have another 8 seconds to wait before you get your second Shield of the Righteous proc. And by the time that Shield of the Righteous ends, you still have 24 seconds left on your Seraphim cooldown. So you have 24 seconds of no mitigation. With that, that's a long time for a healer to keep you healed up. Now, you could burn another charge of Shield of the Righteous if you wanted to, which would put you up to about 25 seconds, making it 20 seconds of no shield, no reduction. And you may get a charge back. You will get a charge back about halfway through that time. So you'll have about 8 seconds of no mitigation, followed by 4.5 seconds of mitigation, and then followed by another 6 seconds of no mitigation. But the bigger problem is, now that the cooldown of Seraphim has run out, you have to wait for it to get that mitigation back, which lends the question of, do I save my Shield of the Righteous procs and go bare, no mitigation basically, in order to pop Seraphim for that 16 seconds? So to me, there's too many numbers. Like, I'm already confused, and I just ran everybody through that. I would have to rewatch this video to figure out what the hell I just talked about. But what I'm saying is, the mitigation is gonna be lacking in that, like, when that's on cooldown. Like, the back half of that cooldown, you're gonna take a ton of damage, and you're not gonna get much of it back. Like, sometimes, obviously you can pop an Ardent, a Guardian of the Ancient Kings, or you can even use your Eye of Tyr to take less damage, which might be a good way to go, but that's only going to fill 9 seconds for that one. This one's only going to fill 8 seconds. You do have Ardent Defender, which has a 1.3 minute cooldown, but again, it's only 8 seconds. So you'd have to burn so many cooldowns, whereas currently, 3 charges of Shield of the Righteous last for 4.5 seconds each, which means you have 12 seconds plus an additional 1.5 seconds if you math it out. So you got 13.5 seconds of Shield of the Righteous that you can use. By the time you get all the way through those 3 charges, you will have another charge of Shield of the Righteous if you manage them correctly. This is actually a perpetuating cycle, because of the fact that those 3 added together last longer than the recharge rate. If you manage them perfectly, and even with a little leeway, because I have 12.7, if my recharge rate was 13.5, I would have to be exactly perfect. But with this, I have 0.8 seconds of overlap, to where I can wait 0.8 seconds and still have Shield of the Righteous up to let that extra recharge happen. I can perpetually keep Shield of the Righteous up forever. When I'm standing in Consecration, Shield of the Righteous is better. So, Seraphim doesn't get any bonuses from Consecration. So in my opinion, I know this is a little long-winded, Shield of the Righteous, much better for me. Obviously, if you can figure out a way to supplement the damage reduction with trinkets, or managing other cooldowns, etc., or with external cooldowns from healers, which are also an option, then that would also help a lot. And you could be very good with Seraphim. People like Seraphim. It's very popular. I personally just prefer Righteous Protector. Now, I know we've gone through, there's a lot of technical crap for Paladin tanking and whatnot, but that is what it is. Basically, play how you want to play, but this is how I play. This is how I feel the most comfortable. Now, I also wanted to take a moment to talk about trinkets. My item level currently is 923. Not great, not amazing. It's pretty good. About average for a decently geared tank. I currently use a trinket that is 870. And the reason I use this trinket is because, as you can see here on the right-hand side of my screen, it's the coagulated Nightwell residue. I think I got this one out of like a chest or something. I might have gotten it out of Mythic 7 Titan Forge is what it might have been, my weekly chest maybe. The amount of mastery it gives is great. If you have mastery stat priority, it's going to be even better as a tank. Mastery for paladins is fairly good. The best part about this trinket is the use. So as I damage enemies, which anything I damage them with can proc one of these, it'll stack Nightwell energy up to 10. And I'm sure a lot of tanks have seen this one in passing. In either they've had one or not had one, or they've seen somebody have one, etc. When you use it, it consumes all the stacks, and it gives you a shield for 15 seconds that absorbs 132,700 and some odd damage at this item level per energy consumed. So if we multiply that by 10, just basically add a 0 and move and shift the commas, you're looking at 1.32 million as an absorb shield. Very easy to stack this up, very easy to save it, but what makes it interesting is that the trinket itself has a 20-second cooldown for the use, so you don't have to use it at full stacks. You can use it at half stacks and get a 600,000 shield bonus. Absorb shield, I should say. So, in my opinion, with the playstyle that I run, I prefer using this as my active trinket over much higher item level trinkets, because it gives me an additional damage reduction cooldown that I can use when I've screwed up my Shield of the Righteous rotations, when I've don't have an Ardent Defender up, when I don't have a Guardian of the Ancient Kings ready to go, or when I have Tears on cooldown. I can use it as a way to burn a free cooldown because it doesn't cost me anything. It has no resources other than me attacking the enemies, which I'm gonna do anyway. So that's basically why I use it, and I love it, even though it's 870. So yeah, it drags my item level down a little bit. Probably a lot, actually. If I look at my bag, which is an unholy godly mess, I mean, I have a Draw to Souls at 880, but that's not really for tanking at all. Let's see, what else do I got here? Oh, okay, I have this 910 Shifting Cosmic Sliver. Taking damage is their chance to reduce the cunning of the deceiver, stacking up to 10 times. I use it, and it reduces the cooldown of Guardian of the Ancient Kings by 10 seconds per stack. If it's currently active, it'll then extend it. Now, a lot of people like this trinket, and I thought I would like it as well because it has a similar functionality as the other one, where you stack it up and then you use it, but this one is more of like, I take damage, so I'm not really in control of it. I have to wait to take damage to stack it up to 10 times. Then, if I were to stack it up to 10 times and reduce the cooldown of Guardian of the Ancient Kings by 10 seconds per, that's 100 seconds, a minute and 40 seconds. Cooldown on Guardian of the Ancient Kings is 5 minutes. A minute and 40 seconds? Not really useful right away. Not at all. Increasing Guardian of the Ancient Kings, which only lasts for 8 seconds, to 18 seconds. Useful, more useful, but very situational. I can't just stack it up and use it when I want. I have to wait for a time when either Guardian of the Ancient Kings is on cooldown, and then I want to stack it to 10, which who knows if that's going to be quick or not. I can't control it because I'm not making attacks against myself, so I can't damage myself to make this happen. And increasing the duration obviously is going to be a better way to go, but how am I going to, I'm not going to be ready for that whenever that happens. So I feel like this, even though it's 910, and even though it has more mastery by 200, I don't want to use it. I don't think it's good enough. I don't think it's good enough to take away what I am currently using, which is why I don't use it, basically. Cinders, that's from a DPS set. I have, that's Chalice of Moonlight, that's from a healing set, which I'll go into as well. I have all those on this guy. As for that, though, that's basically how I play my Paladin. I'm fairly high damage, very high survivability, focus more on survivability than anything else. try to play it as clean as possible. Now, I don't have all of the, obviously, I don't have all the Netherlight Crucible traits open, but I have some of them, and I'm not really going to go into it. You know what? I thought I was going to go into it, but I'm not. And instead, I'm just going to leave this right here. That is how I play my Paladin Axe. Axorin, Axe for short, obviously. That's what my guild calls me, so that's what I'm going to go by. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I plan to do many more. I know I've said that in the past, and I did do a bunch of videos before I took a break. But I definitely want to start getting back into this. I will be doing a healing version of this video and a DPS version of this video as well. I am not as good in those two specs as I am in my tanking set, but I am able to do any level of Mythic Plus that is available in any spec. So, like I said, I hope you guys really enjoyed this. I enjoyed making it. I'm not going to enjoy editing it. I'll tell you that I'm not going to enjoy, but I'm going to do it for you guys. Anyway, my name is Axorin, or Axe for short. This has been my Paladin, and I hope to see you guys at the next midnight run. Good night.